Hi everyone, today I am going to teach you a chapter which name is the straight line, which is a chapter of class 11th mathematics. It is come into the coordinate geometry, or it is a part of geometry, and it is very interesting and very easy topic. So I am going to introduce about this chapter and what we have to done in this chapter and how we could get confidence in this chapter so that we could solve the question of the higher level which usually came into the JEE NEET examination. So just start this chapter. So a straight line, that means a line like this is a straight line. So what we have to done in this chapter, you have to just find the equation of this line. You have to just find it, let this AB is the line, and just you have to find the equation of this line, something you have given in the question like the coordinate of this point and the coordinate of this point and the slope of this point. Like this you will get the many values, and rest of the thing you have to find which is the equation of this line. For this you need to know the many terms like the slope, angle of inclination, and many things, so that by which you could find it. So I am going to teach you about those basic terms. So for this, first I am going to teach you about the angle of inclination. So for this, just make this one. It is the x-axis and it is the y-axis. It is the y-axis. In this is the first quadrant, in which what is the angle of inclination? So angle of inclination means the angle formed by a line, by a straight line with the positive direction of the x-axis. That means this is the positive, this line is the positive, and this is negative, and this is negative. Sorry, this is positive and this is negative, as you know. So this one is the positive, and if the angle made by this line, this axis to a line, let's say this one is the line, so this is the angle. This is what we call the angle of inclination. Angle of inclination. This is the angle of inclination. So this is what we have to know. If this angle of inclination is could be anything 30 degree, that means this angle is formed between a line and to the positive direction of this x-axis. So this is called the angle of inclination. And what do you mean by slope? And if we have the two way to find the slope, just like in this term, here we have the theta which is the 30 degree. So what is the slope? The slope of this line will be, the slope of any line is the tan theta. Slope is denoted by the m, so m is equal to tan theta, and here the theta is the 30 degree. So here we have to put the 30, and tan 30 is equal to 1 by root 3. This is the basic trigonometry, you may know this. So we have the slope of this line 1 by 3. So what do you mean by the slope of this line, which is the 1 by 3? So m is equal to 1 by root 3. So what do you mean by this slope? So imagine the slope. Slope can be written as the gradient. Slope can be written as the m, which is the m is equal to tan theta. Tan theta. So what do you mean by slope? First of all, I am going to make you understand what do you mean by slope. The slope, in the another word you could say the gradient. Just think that if you are walking on a path, then you are easily able to walk, because the slope is about to zero. The slope is about to zero. And if you are climbing a mountain, then you have to push your body more and exert the more force to climb over the mountain. So that means the slope of that mountain is somewhere higher, so that you have to exert the higher force from your body to climb over the mountain. And when you are running over the straight line, then you have not to exert the higher force as compared to climb the mountain. So that means when you are climbing a mountain, then you have to exert the higher force. That means the slope of that mountain is the higher than the line. So this one is the line, the slope is 0, and if this line is made like this, then its slope is become the higher. That means gradient become the higher. That means you have to exert more force to climb over this. If a boy is running from here to here, then easily can run. But if he is running like the line which is which have some slope, then you have to exert the more force. And if this line become the perpendicular, that means slope become the higher and higher, which you will say the slope of this line is the infinity. Okay, so how could you get the slope infinity? So as I said that if this line angle makes the 30, and if this line make the angle here the 90, that means here the tan theta is equal to 90 and the tan 90 is equal to in undefined, not defined, which is the not defined means 1 by 0. That means the slope of this line become the infinity and very higher. So because it is directly perpendicular to this line, this is why the slope of this line become the higher. I think you understand, if the slope is higher and if you have to climb over this, then you have to exert more and more force because it is the perpendicular. This is why. That means if the slope is higher, you have to exert the more force, and this is what the slope means. And I think you understand what do you mean by slope and what do you mean by the angle of inclination, all this thing. So as you get that, if here we have this one and if this one is make an angle 45, then how we could find the slope of this line AB? This line is the AB, which then make the angle 45 with the x positive axis. So the slope of this line AB is equal to tan theta. Tan theta, the slope denoted by the m. So m is equal to tan 45. So what is the tan 45? So tan 45 is equal to 1. So the slope of this line is the 1. So this is the become the slope. And if you haven't get the angle of this point, if you haven't get the angle of this point, and then you have to find the slope, and you have only the two things, the coordinate of this point, which is the 5, 6, and the coordinate of this point 2, 3. You haven't this angle you haven't given in the question, but the two coordinate is given to you. So how could you find the slope at that time? So we have the another formula which is derived from the coordinate geometry to find the slope of this line. So what is that? Which one? That is the y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So what is the y2? Let's suppose this one is the x. So it is the x1, and let's suppose this one is the y1. So it becomes the x2 and this becomes the y2. You could take this one also as the x2 and y2. Anyone you could take, no matter. So here we have the what is the y2? As the value of y2 we have the 6. So the 6 minus y1 is equal to 3 and the x2 is equal to 5. x2 as we have the 5 and x1 is the 2. So we have here the 3 and here is the 3. So in this case the slope is the 1. So the slope is the 1. So that you could say that if the slope of this line is the 1, that means the m. That means m is, as you know that the slope of slope of a line in the term of trigonometry, you could say that the tan theta. So the if the value of m is equal to 1, so the tan theta. So what is the value of tan theta? So as you know that the tan theta, when the theta is the 45 degree, then tan theta values will the 1. So you could also say that this angle is the 45. This is how you have to memorize or recognize in the question so that you could get at the higher level. So I am going to give you some questions so that you could make practice over this and get your concept to be very rigid. So let's see, this one is the line which have the coordinate like the 6, 5, and this one line which have a coordinate of 10, 10. So we have the two coordinates, and in this if I have to find the gradient or the slope of this line, so how we could find it? So if you have given the only the coordinate of that point, so you have to use this formula, m is equal to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So here we have, let's see, this one is the x1 and this one is the y1 and this one is the x2 and this one is the y2. So y2 here we have the 10 minus 5 because y1 is the 5, and here we have the 10 and the 6. Then we have here get the 5 upon 4. So this is the slope of this line. Slope of this line. So what is the slope of this line? Let's say this is the AB. The slope of this line is the 5 by 4. So I think you may understand how we get the slope and what do you mean by the slope and how can you feel the slope. And another thing which I am going to teach you, a very interesting thing, angle between two lines. So how to find the angle between the two lines? This is very interesting topic and very critical topic. So understand this. This one is the line AB and this one is the also line which name is the BC. Let's see, this one is the AB and this line is the CD. So we have the two lines. Let's suppose this angle is a theta. We have the theta and this angle we have the again theta because of the vertically opposite angle. And then what will be this angle? If this one is the AB is the line and this whole angle is the 180. This whole angle is the 180 and this one is the theta. So this will be the 180 minus theta. And if this one is the 180 minus theta, then it is also 180 minus theta. And let's see, this is one is the x-axis. This one is the x-axis and this one is the y-axis. So in this thing, let's see, this one is the theta 1 and this is the theta 2. So have to find this theta. I am going to derive the formula to find the theta, the value of theta in the term of coordinate geometry and something. So in this we get that the theta plus theta 1 is equal to theta 2 because of the property of the exterior angle. The sum of interior opposite angle is equal to exterior angle. So what is the value of theta? Here we have the theta is equal to theta 2 minus theta 1. If I multiply the tan both the sides, so we get the tan theta is equal to tan theta 2 minus theta 1. You get this value. And what is the tan theta? Tan theta means the slope. Okay, so this one is the tan theta. And as you may have read the a formula of the tan theta in the trigonometry, tan to theta minus theta, as this one is the formula which you have written in the trigonometric function of the chapter class 11th. That means that tan theta 2 minus tan theta 1 is equal to 1 plus tan theta 2 tan theta 1. This is the formula which you may have studied in the trigonometry. So if we make here, if we put this here, then what is the tan theta 2? So as we know that tan theta means m. So if we have the tan theta 2, that means m2. So here you could write as the m2 minus m1 because here the tan theta 1 means tan theta 1 plus 1 plus m2 because tan theta 2 can be written as m2 and into m1. So this is the formula of tan theta or the angle between the two lines. We call this formula angle between the two lines. If I have to find this one, so we have to find the m2 minus m1 plus 1 plus m2 and m1. So how would you use this formula? You may get confused about how can we use this formula. So I am going to teach you how will you use this formula in the question. For this I have to erase this one, and I think you understand how we get this formula, which is the tan theta m2 minus m1 upon m1 plus m2 m1. So this is the formula we have. So this is the formula to find the angle between the two different lines. Angle between the two lines. So let's suppose we have the another concept I am going to teach you. What is the slope or the relation of the slope when the two lines are perpendicular? relation of slope when two lines are perpendicular to each other. If the two lines are perpendicular to each other, so what is the relation of the slope? So if the two line, let's suppose this one is the line and again this one is the line, so this one is the perpendicular to this one, so the what something is the slope of this. We have some slope of this or the gradient, and we have also the slope of this. So what is the relation between these two slopes, which I am going to derive you? So the as you able to see that theta between the two lines is what? This one is the line AB line, and the CD. So what is the theta or what is the angle between the two lines? In this two line we have this one 90 degree as the angle or the theta between the two lines. So we have to put that tan theta is equal to 90 degree, and m2 minus m1 1 plus m2 m1. So what is the tan 90? So as you could remember that tan 90 is equal to 1 by 0, or the not define the value, the not define means 1 by 0, which means the m2 minus m1 1 plus m2 m1. So in this, if you multiply 0 to this side, then you will get the 0. So you could write the m2 minus m1 multiplied by the 0 is equal to 1 plus m2 m1. So we get this one as the 0 plus 1 plus m2 m1. So if we this one is coming this side, so minus 1 is equal to m2 m1. So we get a new relation, which is the m2 minus m1 is equal to minus 1 when the two lines are perpendicular to each other. So if ever you get the two lines are perpendicular to each other, then you could use this formula or relation. So if I am getting you a question to you, let's suppose this one is the line which AB, and the slope which denoted by the m is the 2 of this line, and this one is the another line which name is the CD, and the slope of this line what? If this one is the perpendicular to this. When I said that AB is the line and CD is the line which is perpendicular to the AB, so the slope of AB is the 2. So what is the slope of CD? So as you know that this relation, if the line is the perpendicular, then you know this relation m2 into m1 is equal to minus 1. As you get, let's suppose this one is the m2 m1, and this is the slope of this line is the m2. We don't know the value of m2, so we know that m1 is equal to 2. Right here the m2 is equal to minus 1. So here you could write the m2 is equal to minus 1 by 2. So without knowing the slope of this line, you are able to get that slope of this line will be the minus 1 by 2. This is because of this relation m2 into m1 is equal to minus 1, which is the slope of this line. How we are able to find this? Only when the one line is the perpendicular to other line. So I am going to teach you another relation in which you will able to find that. For this I am just having a question, a good question over this concept. Let's suppose this one is the line which is the AB, and the point here, the 3,2, and the another point which is the 5,5. This one is the line AB, and let's suppose this one is the CD line. CD is the also a line which is the perpendicular to this line. As I said that CD is the line which is the perpendicular to the AB. CD line is the perpendicular to AB, and what is the slope of this CD? Let's suppose the slope of this line is the m1 and the slope of this line is the m2. So if I will ask you what is the value of m2, the slope of this line, how will you find? In this question you haven't give any type of value. I haven't give you any type of value. Even I haven't give you the m1. So how will you find? So as I said you, to find the m as the coordinate geometry by the relation of coordinate geometry in which you have studied the m is equal to by 2 minus by 1 upon x2 minus x1. According to this relation you could find the m1. So find, so m1 can be written as the y2. Let's suppose this one is the x1, this is the y1, this is again x2 by 2. So by 2 here we have the 5 and by 1 we have the 2, and again the by x2 we have the 5 minus x1 is the 3. So in this here you get the 3 and here you get the 2. So the value of this is the 3 by 2, and in the question I ask about the m2. So as you know that the CD line which is the perpendicular to AB, so in the perpendicular you know a relation which is the m2 into m1 is equal to minus 1. We get the m1 as a 3 by 2 and m2 we don't know, we have to find, and this is the 1. So according to this relation m2 can be written as minus 1 by 2 by 3. So m2 we have the minus 1 by 3. So this is the answer of the m2. So I think you understand how we get the m2 using the coordinate formula, the formula which came from the coordinate geometry. So slope can be defined as the tan theta. Mainly we define the slope. We define the slope of a line by the tan theta. So the theta from the positive direction of the x-axis is the slope. So we have the two ways to find the slope of a line. Which one is the by the coordinate geometry and by the trigonometry. So we by the trigonometry the slope is equal to tan theta. So this one is the two relation which you have to remember, and this one is the angle between the two line, and this is the what is, and we got the relation through this formula. If the angle between the two line is the perpendicular, then the relation of slope is this one. And I think you may understand this topic, and I am going to teach you another topic. Which one? If the two lines are parallel to each other, so what is the relation of their slope? If the two line, which this one AB, this one is the AB and this one is the CD. So if these two lines are the perpendicular to each other, if they parallel to each other, so what is the relation of their slope? So parallel, that means if this line become the closer and closer to this, then the angle between the two lines become 0. As you said that as you shift this CD to this line, it superimpose or coincide with this line at some point when it's travel a distance, little distance, then it becomes superimposed. That means the angle between these 2 points is the 0. So theta we get here. So the theta between the two lines we get the 0. So the theta we have the 0. So if the theta is the 0 and we have this relation formula in which the tan theta, where the theta is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to m2 minus m1 upon 1 plus m2 m1. So if the tan theta here with the tan theta is the 0. So what is the tan theta? You add the 0. So the tan 0 is equal to 0, as you know that it is the basic trigonometry. Tan 0 is equal to 0, then m2 minus m1 upon 1 plus m2 m1. So if this multiply from this by the cross is multiply in this, so we get the 0 is equal to m2 minus m1. When we shift the m2, this one is this side, and this one is this side, then we get the m1 is equal to m2. So when the two lines are when the two lines are the parallel to each other, then the slope of both the lines is the equal. So m2 is equal to mn in the parallel line. So how can you say that the two lines are the parallel? So I am going to make you some question over this. Which one? Let's suppose this one is the line CD and this one is the line AB. BA is the line. The slope of this line M, this is the 5 So what is the slope of this line? If the CD is parallel to BA, so what is the slope? As you know that both lines are the parallel, that means the slope of both line is equal. Then the slope of this line also is equal to 5. So this is how relation you get it of by the parallel relation. So I am going to make you some question over this. Which one? Let's suppose this one is the line. This one is the line. Let's suppose the coordinate of this point is the 5, 2, and the coordinate of this point is the 6, 1. Sorry, 6, 3. 6, 9. We get this the coordinate of this point, and let's suppose this one is the another line which is the parallel to them. This line is parallel to this line. So what is the slope of this line? This line is the slope m2 and the slope of this line m1. We even don't know what is the value of m1 and the m2. So how would you find the m2? You know that the two coordinate of this line and this line is a parallel to this. So the coordinate relation you could find the, let's suppose this one x1 by 1, x2 by 2. By this coordinate relation you could find the slope of this line, which is the 9 minus 2 and 6 minus 5. Which one is the 7 by 1? That means the 7. So slope of this line being the 7. And what is the slope? If the both line are parallel, then the m2 is equal to m1. So if the m2 we don't know and m1 is the 7, so m2 becomes the 7. So I think you understand this relation, and I try to make the easy, and next to this video I will continue or forward this chapter. And thank you for today.